Right now at noon, the Multnomah County chair presents her budget proposal for the next fiscal year. Plus, the Senate fails to advance a bill to curb the president's war powers as the Trump administration pushes to reopen peace talks with Iran. And later, new research at OHSU shows a potential for your body's immune system to become a key player in cancer treatment. Your news starts in 1 second. And thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Gordon. Our top story here at noon. Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega-Peterson unveiled her county budget proposal this morning. The $3.9 billion proposal comes in slightly smaller than last year's $4 billion budget and includes what the county chair calls difficult cuts. The county is looking to make up for a year-over-year loss of more than $93 million. Among the largest proposed cuts is a $67 million reduction to the Homeless Services Department and a potential 5% cut to the district attorney's office. Though the proposal does preserve funding for some behavioral health and transitional housing services.
We also need to support community safety and transformative justice, which is not just about our DA or our jail. It is crisis intervention, it is behavioral health, it is economic and environmental justice, it is housing, it is violence prevention, and it is that violence response team.
Several public hearings are scheduled in the coming weeks for the public to weigh in on the proposed changes. The first one is on April 29th. The Board of County Commissioners votes on the final budget June 4th. Our Blair Best will have a deep dive into the proposal coming up tonight at 6:30. Well, a nearly 70-year-old mystery is now solved. Today, the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office has identified the remains found in a car in the Columbia River in Cascade Locks. DNA analysis confirms that Kenneth Martin, Barbara Martin, and Barbie Martin were inside the wreckage at the bottom of the river. The Martins disappeared while on a family outing to the gorge in 1958. In 2024, a diver discovered what he believed to be the family's car deep in the Cascade Locks Canal. And last year, he found the remains. The state worked with a forensic genetics laboratory specializing in advanced DNA analysis, and it confirmed that the remains belong to the Martin family. All right, well, turning to your weather headlines now, this gorgeous live look from the Springs Sky Camp out of the Vancouver waterfront. That's gorgeous with those clouds. Let's check in with Chris McGinnis now for what's going on this afternoon.
Remember this yesterday?
Yeah.
Live at noon. It was just
crazy.
A hailstorm out on the golf course out in Aloha. Yeah, this is the live look now from the Explore Tualatin Valley camera out at the Reserve Golf Course, and a much different story today. Broken cloud cover. It's chilly, still chilly, but we're going in the upward direction as we head into this afternoon. Last check in Aloha. Let's see, the button seems to be sticking here, but right now we are about 48 degrees, I think, last check out in Aloha. We'll switch gears real quick and get that going for, there we go, 49 last check in Aloha. All right, radar over the last 3 hours has shown a little smattering of green offshore and still some snow flurries continuing up in the higher terrain of the Cascades. But again, those continue to fizzle as we go through the next couple of hours, and I think that activity will be shutting off. In fact, the live look from the Dalles, you can actually see the tippy top of Mount Hood right now. Breeze is howling out of the East Gorge, 20 miles an hour sustained in the Dalles, gusting to 31. So a breezy day out there. The live look up at the mountain, still chilly with that fresh snow, almost 2 feet of fresh snow in the last 2 days up there. And Tim showed you this camera just a couple of minutes ago. The Springs at the waterfront showing a beautiful noontime hour here in Vancouver at 51. All right, the plan for the rest of the day, again, broken cloud cover out there. It's not out of the question that we see a sprinkle here or there, but I think for the most part we are generally dry and cool, but not as cool as yesterday with highs climbing into the upper 50s. Speaking of cool, a lot of the area under a frost advisory tonight. So tomorrow morning is going to be a chilly one, but then we have an improving forecast with warmer weather coming our way for the weekend. Tim?
We're making it through, Chris. Thanks. Well, this morning, President Trump announced a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon as Iran-backed Hezbollah and Israel exchange strikes. The news comes as the Trump administration says they are pushing to restart peace talks to end the war in Iran. NBC's Chris Pallone has the details.
The White House projecting confidence a deal to end the war with Iran is close.
We feel good about the prospects of a deal.
This even as the Trump administration ratchets up the pressure on the Iranian regime to agree to the president's demands.
This whole thing is really about no nuclear. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force.
The White House putting direct pressure on the Iranian economy, a military blockade of Iran's ports preventing it from exporting oil. The Navy has turned around at least 10 ships since the operation began Monday.
The United States Navy controls the traffic going in and out of the strait because we have real assets and real capabilities. And we're doing this blockade, performing it with less than 10% of America's naval power.
Iran now saying if the U.S. doesn't lift the blockade, it will prevent ships from passing through the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the Sea of Oman. It comes as Democrats back in Washington try once again to rein in the president's power to wage war.
The motion is not agreed to.
The latest War Powers resolution vote failing in the Senate, mostly along party lines.
Republicans are going to be held accountable now and in November for their unquestioning support for a war of impulse and illusion.
The War Powers Act of 1973 says the president can act without congressional authorization for 60 days.
My hope is by the time we reach the end of that 60 days, this conflict will be over.
That period is up at the end of April. The White House says negotiations with Iran could restart by the end of the week, likely again in Pakistan. Chris Pallone, NBC News, Washington.
In other national headlines this afternoon, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. clashed with House lawmakers during a hearing with the Ways and Means Committee today. In his opening statement, Kennedy ran through a list of goals his department and the Trump administration accomplished over the last year. Kennedy also responded to Republican concerns about reports of potential mismanagement at the FDA. Things got heated, though, as Democratic lawmakers pressed Kennedy on the measles vaccine multiple times throughout the hearing. Kennedy pushed back, saying the U.S. has done better than any other country at managing the ongoing measles outbreak. Well, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department calling for probes into the whistleblower complaint that led to Donald Trump's 2019 impeachment. It comes after Gabbard released documents and claimed they showed the Intelligence Community Inspector General at the time didn't follow policy in the matter. That Inspector General was later fired by Trump in 2020. Critics claim this move will discourage future whistleblowers from coming forward to Congress. And the shoe company Allbirds is stepping away from the footwear industry and into artificial intelligence. The company announced its rebranding as Newbird AI, focusing on AI infrastructure. An interesting switch here. The move comes just 1 month after selling its intellectual property to a private equity firm. Though the company is expected to continue selling products under the Allbirds name.
The conversation about anti-blackness on this council, that was an issue.
One Portland City Councilor says her colleagues are not allocating enough money to black organizations. The accusation came last night as the City Council discussed what to do with more than $15 million in unspent housing money. Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz has more from that meeting.
Well, as we've seen before, the meeting devolved into accusations city councilors hurled at each other, with Councilor Loretta Smith accusing Candace Avalos of not supporting black organizations. Take a listen.
And I hear what my District 1 councilor is saying. She don't want to support black organizations. That's cool with me.
Point of order, can we not impugn the character of our colleagues, please?
Well, it's the truth. When it's the truth,
that is not true. Councilor Avalos
she voted against them.
That
she voted against them last week. She voted against them, so she didn't want them to go forward.
Through an amendment, Councilor Smith pushed to allocate $17.5 million in unspent housing funds. $2.5 million would be used for home ownership development under her plan. Back in February, the city administrator disclosed more than $100 million in housing funds had not been budgeted. With all that money on the table, city councilors are advocating for different projects and proposing amendments for their ideas left and right. Wednesday, several amendments were proposed. Most were rejected.
The Portland Housing Bureau failed to budget $100 and some odd million. We should be fighting them. We should be saying we're going to appropriate as much as we want to because you guys failed to do your job. Not fighting against one another. We got enough money to do everybody's project.
The council rejected Smith's amendment. Meanwhile, other councilors like Dan Ryan are pushing to use money for rental assistance, so still a lot for the city council to determine. Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
And meanwhile, Portland City Council approved a plan to encourage denser housing development on the city's inner east side. The goal is to bring more homes to this mapped area by way of apartments and multifamily units. Ahead of last night's council meeting, this crowd gathered outside City Hall to rally in support of the rezoning effort. Much of the Inner East Side has been zoned for low-density residential housing since the 70s and 80s, banning apartment buildings. Housing advocates argue that's caused both a shortage in housing and rising rents citywide.
The city of Portland has had inequalities in how we address housing and zoning, and that has created different neighborhoods where wealthy people live and poor people live, where majority white people live and other people live. And that is how it has been for a very long time.
The vote doesn't rezone any part of the city, nor does it approve any new construction. Instead, city staff have 90 days now to create a report. A new zone map would be ready by next summer.